It's BD. So, this has been bothering me for a while, but I finally figured out how to explain it over the weekend. Basically, there has been an influx of influencers that have never gotten over their first girlfriend, or they never had a female friend in general, and they've taken the responsibility on themselves to explain the nature of females. I'm not going to point fingers, but based on my YouTube analytics, a lot of you guys follow these individuals. Now, you are free to believe whoever you want, but as someone who has been friends with many women throughout his life, I can say there's far too much nuance with female attraction than what these gentlemen are saying. Basically, the gist is many of them are saying something along the lines that women are only interested in alpha males. First, and this has always bothered me, you are not alpha if you have to proclaim that you are alpha. It's a status given to those who are deserving, first of all. Second, scientifically speaking, alpha males do not exist in human cultures. They exist in gorillas, but they do not exist with humans. Humans are far too complex social creatures to have set societal standards, or not even societal, but social standards. So think about it this way. Your boss is technically the alpha of the office, right? But you are the alpha when you get home. Really, it comes down to dominant and submissive in a social situation. If you are unfamiliar with the social situation or there's already a set hierarchy, then you are going to take a different role than, say, you are where you are comfortable and have a set hierarchy, right? So basically, the idea of an alpha male is kind of bullshit. Now, there is masculine and then there is feminine and androgynous, but that is a completely different can of worms that I will hopefully cover in another video. What they're trying to say is that to get the girl, you have to be traditionally masculine. Think like an 80s action hero movie like, I don't know, Sylvester Stallone or Arnold. But in reality, guys like David Bowie, Harry Styles, and Prince all got tons of female attention. And even if you're not talking about these androgynous characters, think about Elvis Presley, who was not traditionally masculine at the time, or the Beatles. They got tons of female attention, even though they did not portray traditional masculinity. So masculinity in general is not a requirement for female attraction. So let me break it down for you in a more simple way. You probably have a certain type of female that you like. Your friend has a completely different type of woman they're into. Meanwhile, your other friend would have sex with both, right? That's similar to how women work, except they're probably a little more picky based off of evolutionary pressures and how much society pressures them to be prude, so to say. Everyone has their own type based on their own predisposition as well as their own experiences. Now, we can break up attraction in general into three main categories. However, in these categories, there's subcategories, and you can keep nitpicking as you go down. So, you have physical, you have intellectual, and you have social. Physical's obvious, right? It's appearance and how you present yourself. Now, within itself, it's not a monolith. For example, my wife is into chest and arms. My one friend is into butts specifically. And then my other friend is into thighs. When we can find a whole wide array of physical traits attractive, it's not a monolith, is really what I'm trying to get at. Now, physical attraction is probably the most important thing for hookups, but I have a different opinion on hookup culture. Essentially, what I think is many of you guys aren't actually built for it because we're largely monogamous species. So I'll get into it in another video, but that's going to take a little more research and writing to get my point across clearly. Again, now, intellectual. This is how smart you are, either book smart, street smart, or artistically inclined. That's why so many girls lost their shit for David Bowie and Harry Styles and all these singers and stuff, even though they're not the greatest looking guys, because they spoke to them in a different way than the traditional man could. And this would also include shared interests. So like if you, I don't know, like badminton or like the same type of books, etc., watch the same TV shows. Social traits. This is how well you're perceived by others. So that would be your sense of humor, how well you can explain yourself, and how much you are driven to be social. For example, I am not very social. I don't go out to bars and stuff like that, but that was not a deal breaker for my wife. Now, all of these are on a spectrum, right? You can be super social, you can be super physically attractive, and you can be super intellectually attractive. However, each one of those bars are going to have their own threshold, and ideally, you want to be able to get past 2 out of those 3. For example, my wife holds intelligence very highly, and that means she would not give a chance to someone she is not able to have a meaningful conversation with. She also likes the masculine, intimidating types a la Jason Momoa. I don't know what she sees in me, but finally, she does not really care about for men that are overly charismatic or social. It's not a deal breaker either way for her. Meanwhile, I have one friend that finds every body type attractive as long as they are not overly out of shape. And what's more important to her is that they can keep up with the party. And not necessarily like binging and stuff, but being able to be social in almost every situation and be endearing in those situations. And then I have another friend who is into chubby guys that are soft-spoken but are kind and intelligent. And this is anecdotal. Basically, out of all my female friends, only 1 or 2 of them find abs attractive, like super attractive. Basically, abs are nice, but they're not the deal breaker normally. Women actually really don't care that much about them. It's more us guys that put a lot of weight on them because it shows off our hard work in the gym, and we find that admirable. So just to drive home the point that this is all on a spectrum, I'm going to give you yet another anecdotal thing. When my wife and I first started talking, there was this guy. He was a friend of both her and me. We're like really good friends with him at one point. He had these like perfect bicep peaks, huge chest at 17, right? If we were going to go off the superficial traits like these gentlemen that some of you may follow state are the most important, then she would have obviously went for him, right? But 10 years later, she's married to me. My wife has told me that she would not date him because he was very needy or clingy, in that I was more down to earth. Even though I was not the man that I was 10 years ago, basically I was 160 pounds soaking wet. I know that probably sounds a lot, but when you're 6'1", 6'2", that's really not much weight. Anyway, what she saw was my potential to be her type when I was young. So my friend hit puberty very early and finished puberty very early. Basically had chest hair at 13. My family has exceptionally long puberties. Basically, my shoulders did not pop until I was 20. So basically what I'm really getting at is saying my wife chose me from beyond my lanky build at the time because we were a better fit mentally and socially, and just the ability for me to grow into her type was icing on the cake. And believe it or not, she found me more attractive 25 pounds lighter at say 200 pounds than I am at 225 because my shape was more flowy than bulky. I know I'm not ripped, but I'm just saying that basically there's a lot more to female attraction than what social media leads you to believe. Anyway, now here lies a few problems that many of you are going to face. First, many of you are young, and the women you're trying to date have not figured themselves out yet, nor have you, most likely. That's why dating is such a pain in high school, because A, you don't know what you want, nobody knows what they want, so they go off of what society deems attractive at the time, not necessarily what they find sexually attractive. So that's why you get the stereotypical jocks and cheerleaders. They haven't changed in 100 years just because that's the societal pressure, right? Even though clearly sexuality in general has pushed well beyond that stereotype. Second, online dating, mainly Tinder, heavily skews physical traits being the dominant factor because you're swiping through pictures, not really getting a good look at the person's personality. And that's going to turn off many attractive women outside of the app from ever joining. Second, this puts a selection bias on physically attractive people and people that put a lot of value into physical attraction. So, not trying to say Tinder is shallow, but let's just say there is a lot of pressure to fit the mold on Tinder. And a lot of Tinder is hookup culture. I'm not against hookup culture, but I think a lot of you guys are trying to shoehorn yourself into a role that you are not fit for because you put value in the amount of women you sleep with, but many of us guys are loyal, right? So we're just looking for a solid relationship. We don't really care about the amount of women we sleep with, but we're pressured to play the field because that's what is deemed valuable currently in culture, which again isn't a bad thing, but I think we need to find balance in what you actually want and what society deems to be valuable. So after all this spiel, this is my advice to you and maximizing your chances when finding a partner. First, figure out who you are, what you like, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses is. Then build up your strengths. If you have a decent chest, build it up more. If you got a nice round ass, do some squats. A woman of your type will surely appreciate that at some point, and then that would be giving you the edge to win her over. And if you got a big brain, just embiggen it more. Learn as much as you can without being an asshole showing off your knowledge. 3, work on your weaknesses, or at least learn how to cover them using your strengths. I will make a video going into this more if you guys are interested. But basically, I'm not overly charismatic, but I'm able to use my abilities with logic, so to say, to come off as charismatic. It's those little things that you can do to not even trick, but use as a crutch to get past your own limitations. 4, similar minds gravitate to similar interests. So if you're looking for meaningful relationships, join some clubs and groups of people of the same ilk. It might not be your D&D group, but a few steps over, get out of the male-dominated groups and try to explore possible interest that is not dominated by one sex. 5, lower your standards a bit. Trust me, I had almost impossible standards when I was younger, and this was more of a self-defense mechanism because I wasn't ready to put myself in a vulnerable position. I'm assuming many of you are doing the same thing, or looking for a girlfriend as a status symbol, and that's not how you should go about this. You should be looking for someone that you'd actually enjoy spending time with, not just someone to show off to your friends. And finally, number 6, don't be afraid to get hurt. Dating is not always kind, but with every failure, there is an opportunity to figure out what went wrong and better yourself for it. Okay, so I think I covered it. Basically, women are not a monolith. They never were, even if but society, pop culture pushes women to meet this somewhat zeitgeist. They are still their own independent thinkers, and they are not going for the same type of man, okay? If 80% of women were interested in only 20% of men, society would collapse. So that's just a logical fallacy thinking about that, right? Because if 30% of women were not getting some, birth rates would plummet. So, and even just look around, how many people over 30, in my area it's more like 25, are in a long-term relationship at this point. So when you read stuff online, see if it actually makes sense with the world, okay? And I'm gonna get more into this stuff if you guys want me to. I know I'm probably the zag to the other guy's zig, so just hear me out. I'm not going to like attack anyone doing this stuff. I just want you to hear my side of the argument, okay? So I hope you learned something. I hope I opened your eyes a bit, and I will see you in the next one.